What is going on, Eye Warriors? So today we're going to tackle what is the best fasting length for you to see success when intermittent fasting. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, the only reason that I'm making this video is because this question gets asked to me many times in my DMs, in the comment section. There's always a consistency in this question alone, and it's simply because people want to know what's the best one for them to use and what fasting length is going to reap them the best rewards and probably in the most optimal and efficient way. Well, here's the thing when it comes to this question. There are multiple studies out there, but the more popular research that has been done with intermittent fasting goes like this: 1 meal a day, the warrior diet, the 16-8, alternate day fasting, and the 5-2 diet, and also modified alternate day fasting. So those are technically the 6 different versions that are the most researched when it comes to intermittent fasting. Now, the most popular one is the 16-8, and then followed by alternate day fasting, and then 5-2. Those are the most popular researched intermittent fasting studies, which means those are also the ones that we have the most data on. Now, within those 3 that are the most popular, 16-8, alternate day fasting, and 5-2, the one that has shown the most level of success within the data is the 16-8 diet. So on a data specific, on paper kind of structure, the 16-8 would be the one to choose from. However, we are humans. We are not paper on data on paper computers, right? We are actual human beings that have different biological responses to different things that happen. For example, even in those studies that show a positive effect with the 16-8, there's always a percentage of people who do not see that positive effect, and those are considered the outliers. For example, if 85% of the people in the intervention see something positive happen, that study would be deemed a study that was successful, that showed that this protocol, this intervention actually works in whatever this study methodology is presenting us. But there's still a good percentage, about 20% of people that did not see any or 15% that did not see any results or did not see a positive result. But we don't tend to talk about that because overall, when looking at the sample size, it looks to be something that works because 85% of people experience that. And that's what makes this question a very difficult one to answer, because there are multiple factors that you need to take into account to determine what intermittent fasting system you're going to use. Is it going to be the 16-8? Is it going to be 1 meal a day? You have to determine that by looking at multiple different factors. One isn't better than the other, but if we were going on data, the 16-8, as I mentioned, has the most success rate in terms of research studies that have come out and the positive results coming from those research studies. So on paper, technically, the 16-8 is the best fasting length. 16 hours of fasting with 8 hours of eating. But what is the best fasting length for you? Here are the things that you need to be aware of. What is the most comfortable one for you to do? For many people, it might be a shorter fasting time frame, like the 16 fasting hours, as opposed to 23 hours, which would come with OMAD. Because for them, what's more comfortable is having more time to eat and having a good, adequate amount of time to fast. For other people, it'd be more comfortable for them to just have to eat one time, because that way they don't have to worry about making food again and figuring out what they're going to eat again. And they prefer that feeling of like, here's this one meal that I'm eating and then I'm done. For other people, it might be more comfortable to eat multiple meals, but eat them in an incredibly short time frame because they have that set up where they're gonna eat right away after one of their meals. Or they like to have a snack before they eat, so they'll have a snack in the beginning of the fast break and then have a meal at the end of the fast break, like the warrior diet. There are many reasons why you would want to adopt one or the other in terms of the intermittent fasting regimen that you choose. And those reasons are super important. Do you want to have more time to eat like the 16-8? Do you want to just have to focus on one meal like the OMAD diet? It's all up to you, but whichever one of those are the most comfortable for you, whichever one of those fit the best into your lifestyle should be the one that you choose. Now, there's one more element when thinking about what intermittent fasting protocol you should choose, and it is the possibility of over fasting. Now, many people don't think about this as they want to fast as long as possible and think they'll reap those rewards regardless. The longer, the better. But that isn't the case, unfortunately, because our bodies use ketones for about 70% of your brain's power. Ketones is the substitute for what your brain prefers, which is glucose. So then what happens? You can become more and more fat adapted over time, and it becomes much easier for your brain to deal with ketones for a longer amount of time. But we're all different biologically. Our bodies can do that metabolic switchover at different times, but it can also go into what is called glucose neogenesis at different times in comparison to other people. For example, you might be only able to fast for maximum 18 hours before your body goes into what is called glucose neogenesis. And if you let your body go into that and you fast for 20 hours, for example, or 23 hours, you're not being as efficient as possible, because when your body goes into this process of glucose neogenesis, it starts to break down muscle tissue. It starts to break down protein to create glucose. So it basically creates glucose using muscle tissue. That's why it's called gluconeogenesis. When this process happens, you're no longer predominantly using ketones, which burns fat automatically. What you're doing is you are burning muscle. And the thing with this is that you don't really know when your body goes into glucose neogenesis unless you use a tool like Lumen, which sponsors this channel. And if you want to use that tool to see how long you can fast before you get into glucose neogenesis, just hit the link down in the description box below, put the promo code FLEDGEFITNESS, and you'll get $50 off your Lumen. Simply, all you have to do will be to breathe into the Lumen. It will tell you if you're burning fat or if you're burning carbs. If you've been fasting and you're in a fasted state and you breathe into the Lumen and you're burning carbs, that means you have hit glucose neogenesis and will have to figure out a way to calibrate or recalibrate the times that you stop fasting. Because the more efficient you are, the better you're going to be at losing weight and body fat, and the faster you're going to be losing weight and body fat. Because if you're deteriorating muscle being one of the primary drivers of your metabolic rate, it's not going to help you overall. It's not going to help you partition calories. It's not going to help you burn fat faster. You want to fast right up until the point where you hit glucose neogenesis, and then you want to start eating again. One of my theories of why I think 16-8 is so successful when it comes to the data and why there's an abundance of positive results for 16-8 in comparison to the others is probably because of this glucose neogenesis switchover. I think there's a lot more people that can fit within 16-8 before they hit that glucose neogenesis, therefore becoming as optimal as possible with the 16-8. But if you can hit 20 hours of fasting without hitting that point of glucose neogenesis, then that is the most optimal one for you. So always try to find out how far you can fast. Hopefully this video has answered your question. Of course, as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. This is Edward from Fledge Fitness, and I'll see you in the next one.